it up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
They want you divided. They want you divided by religion. Oh, it's the Jews, it's the Catholics, it's the Muslims. They want that. They love it.
Because I'm doing something for this country and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me.
That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
This is why people like Trump, right? Because Trump is a real person. This is a real dude who really wants to elicit change.
Versus New World Order leeches that want to suck our life out forever.
Because also, too, a lot of people who keep pretending like you still hate him, I'm pretty sure you've all caught on by now that he's not the person, the psycho monster they've all said he is, and you're just too embarrassed to admit it. So.
But we will not be intimidated. We will persevere. We will stand tall in the storm.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brad and Abbey Live. I just want to say right off the bat, we absolutely love you guys. And we are glad to have you here for what's going to be a pretty cool episode. This is stuff that Abbey and I geek out about on our own in private. So getting to talk about it on the show and having an outlet for this sort of stuff is really cool.
Yeah. So like yesterday, I didn't do my shows yesterday. I had a really bad fever. And so it eventually broke and everything. So last night, like I'm like laying in bed and I'm like all looking at this stuff. I'm like, Brad, oh my gosh, Brad, look at all this stuff. And, you know, modern technology, what we're going through, the technology of the future, right? And so we're going to dive into that. But it was really fun just kind of going through that again. So we were gathering all that, putting it in our show file for you guys today. So it should be a pretty fun episode.
It's funny, like sometimes like a good day in bed, just kind of
it was a bad day in bed, but it was good for recovery. So
yeah, pretty cool. Well, before we get into it, guys, hit the like if you be so obliged. It certainly helps the algorithm when you comment and like, and then we will get into it. Why don't you lay it out for everyone, babe?
Okay, so I was like in the bed, you know, obviously, and I was sick, and I was looking up all this stuff with technology because one of my biggest things that I love is, well, CIA documents about mind reading and sending information, right? I love that, like natural telepathic communication, researching into those things. But then on the other hand, you have the technology version, the things that detect your thoughts, things that detect your intentions, your heart rate, the heat in your body, and all these things in technology. So we're going to start out by going to an old video. I think this is like from 13 years ago when this technology first started coming out to the public. So listen to this. This is also really funny just because of the reporters. All right. Tattoo vibrates when phone rings. That's what it's titled.
Excuse me, I have to take this call. What if your tattoo started ringing? I know you love the story, Robin. It wouldn't really ring, but Nokia put in a patent for literally a vibrating tattoo, and it could vibrate at different frequencies, so you would know if it was mom calling or your wife or your kid.
It's absurd sounding, but fascinating. I'm like, is it a chip? Is it the ink that vibrates? How does this work? I don't even know if they know how it works. They just kind of patented the idea.
Yeah, they kind of put out all those scenarios for you because they're kind of saying, whatever this is, we have dibs. But I was thinking, well, you know, the only way I could see it is if my alarm clock could ring, wake me up.
I am
Terrible
so with
idea.
you, right? And you'd have to like slap your arm to turn it off. Yeah, which would only wake you up even more.
Right.
Okay, so great example of showing how retarded some people are, and they're not even thinking straight. In order to patent an idea, usually you have to show how this patent works. Okay, so there is the patents of these things and how they work. And actually, Brad, I don't know if you wanted to go to your videos and go more into it.
Yeah. You wanted me to bring this up,
Oh,
right?
no. I thought you had more vibrating tattoo videos you wanted to throw up with.
You know what?
it.
Believe it or not, I'll show them after you go
okay.
into this.
Okay. Yeah. So let me go to that myself. Sorry, guys. 1 second here.
Now, I think it's important that part of our conversation last night about this was in talking about what's happening right now with the COVID-19 vaccine, where we're about at the 5-year mark. And there's been steadily a lot of cancer springing up and all these different things. It doesn't feel like it has stopped. And people had said this is going to go on for 5 years, 5, maybe 10 years. The damage that they were suspecting was potentially done with these mRNA jabs. And it seems like the system has been disrupted. So now a lot of things people were talking about was it like graphene? What if there was some sort of thing?
Oh, you want me to go
vaccine?
down that rabbit hole? Because there's two different
That
types
could
of
be-
technologies.
Yeah.
There's the one where the graphene oxide is actually put into your body, okay? And they've talked about this. You guys can find there's literature about it where, PubMed and stuff, where there's these actually tiny little nanobots that can do really good things for inside of your body, breaking a blood clot and all of that. But the fact is these are nanobots inserted into your body, and they are controlled via the Internet of Things signal. So they're not only a receiver and they can take in data, they're also a satellite that can, this goes into the concept of eventually a human being able to be hacked and all these crazy nightmares. But yeah, that's the carbon.
Well, this kind of proves that could, at least whether or not it was in the vaccine, is up for debate. But this proves that some sort of technology like that actually could work. If they're talking about something that can be put in as small as ink and then be lit up with simply a frequency, I'd say the two work hand in hand.
100%. So what I was going to jump back to, the way I had it written here, was I was going to go to Elon's thing, but I don't know if you were wanting to.
No. Yeah, that's just the only. I wanted to give some context because it didn't come out of nowhere. Basically, we're talking about something from 2013.
Yeah, they've been working at this for quite some time. So this is, and we're going to go back to what we're talking about, but this shows kind of like, what do I have written here? There are psychological ways to get a person to accept things, right? We saw this happen in COVID. Appealing to our hearts to help others is a very wonderful thing. Like, it's human nature. We want to help each other, want to help others, want to make things better for people. But you can also see in this case, it may be creating manufactured consent for a technology that once implemented could be used and would be complete loss of your sovereign free mind. So yes, there can be great benefits to this, but again, it's a two-way street here. And so I'm going to play this clip. This came out 3 months ago. Patent gets Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip at University of Miami.
A major milestone marked in Miami. The first microchip backed by Elon Musk was implanted into a patient's brain at a local hospital. It is part of a clinical trial giving people who are paralyzed the ability to control their phones or their computers with just their mind. And I spoke to one of the Miami doctors involved, and he says so far it's a success.
First time in 2.5 years.
I think my favorite thing is probably being able to turn on my TV.
Military veteran RJ is regaining a simple freedom.
RJ suffered a spinal cord injury, cervical spinal cord injury, due to a motorcycle accident, which left him quadriplegic, which just simply means that he lacks the use primarily of his arms or his legs.
And he, like a handful of other participants across the country, is taking part in a groundbreaking clinical trial that began in 2024.
I'm Nolan, aka P1.
My name's Alex.
I am Brad Smith.
My name is Mike.
Yeah, I'm RJ. I'm P5.
Each patient paralyzed by either a spinal cord injury or ALS. In each of their brains, an implanted microchip called Neuralink.
It's been an incredible amount of progress.
The Neuralink brain-computer device, founded by Elon Musk, teamed up with the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis and the University of Miami Health System. Dr. Jonathan Jagged and his team executed RJ's implant just months ago.
This device is completely completely invisible, to anybody else that interacts with somebody who has it implanted. The other thing that makes it very unique is how it's been miniaturized. It's a very small device.
About the size of a coin, but the impact so far, anything but small. During Neuralink's summer update on the trial, they showed this moment. Watch as a participant moves his cursor with his mind.
And see, that's so cool, right? It's so exciting. They can move things, they can do things.
Oh, well done, man. Well done.
And these are people that can't even move a mouse, right? So you have to understand, in its early stages, it's been really successful at allowing them to accomplish goals that they cannot otherwise accomplish. But what it can do in the future is anybody's guess.
Anybody's guess about Neuralink's potential. The uncharted territory raises concerns, but Dr. Jagged says it's expected with any new technology. And after years in the making, RJ is hopeful.
Excited to see what BCI's got going on.
Imagine.
Okay, so there you go. Now, what I said before, if you just kind of think about how those were all really cool, these people are able to, that have lost the use of their arms, their legs, like they quite literally can't move any part of their body. This becomes a wonderful way. They can interact, they can text somebody with their mind, and they can speak. And so it feels like they're getting freedom back, right? I think this is the catch. But again, it is creating this manufactured consent where we're like, okay, this is good for mankind and people with problems. Let's just let it happen. And then the technology is in everyone, or everybody has bracelets, or everybody has, we'll get there, but then it can be used, obviously, in nefarious ways. Oh, you're muted. Brad, you're muted.
That's where my kind of a view of this comes in, is what we have to guard against is full implementation. Things like this, obviously they're coming. You either can't ignore them, you have to comment on them, but we have to guard against losing freedom of choice. So personally, for me, I would definitely not take one of those. We can't let things get to a point in society where something like that has to be taken by everyone or accepted by everyone. Now, they're doing things where these people are paralyzed, and while they could actually function a little bit, right? They can move a mouse, they can do things that they aren't able to do with the loss of the use of their limbs. So I got to admit, if I was in that situation, I probably would do it.
I know,
now,
right?
Further down the line, a lot of things with they think paralysis is that your brain's just not able to send the right signals. There's some kind of disconnect that they don't fully understand yet, or else they'd be able to work to fix it. I think sometimes these chips might be able to fix that one day. I have people do things that they lost the ability to walk or see. If I was in that position, I'd probably do it. But when we start getting to what they're going to start doing is the next thing. And even Elon himself, and I love Elon, even after the dust up with Trump, I still love the guy. I kind of think that was fake and manufactured, but even if it wasn't, he at least came back around. But even Elon himself, he was talking about just using it as something to enhance who you are. That's a slippery slope. And someone in the chat, let's see if I can see it, made a point. They said it sounds like The Kingsman. If anyone's ever seen the movie The Kingsman, they do it through cell phones in that movie. Here we go. Brendy TH 810. Sounds like the movie The Kingsman. In that movie, everyone's got these phones. It's been a long time since I watched it. But at the end, there's something programmed in the phone that is able to lock them and turn them into zombies and then use them to create chaos. Now imagine if that thing was in your mind. So we have to be very careful about this technology, especially in the wrong hands. Again, I think Elon has absolutely benevolent intentions for getting into this sort of stuff. This is the sort of stuff I used to talk with my dad 20 years ago, like, well, that'd be cool if you could do stuff like that, right? This is kind of like sci-fi stuff. Elon's into that stuff. I think there are good intentions there, but there are very bad people with bad intentions. And that kind of goes into what you're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk a little bit about Google at some point, but just the idea of what they're doing right now with AI and technology of brain mapping.
Yeah. Mapping the brain has been their biggest dream for so long. And my take is that they already have successfully done that. Now, just a little side note, because Brad, when you brought up in the beginning, there's multiple forms of this technology. There's forms of it being implanted. There's forms of a headband. There's also forms of it being injected, these little nanobots. These nanobot things are different than the technology that Elon's talking right there. So I want to just pull this up real quick so you guys can kind of see. Recent research and patent activity indicate a growing interest in using carbon-based materials like graphene and graphene oxide. Now, this is where I really want to remind everybody again. The formation of graphene oxide is 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. It is 666. Okay, this is something that people should just, and it in the Bible when it talks about that, it says use wisdom and decode the number because the number is the number of man. We are pretty much carbon life forms, like Star Trek, carbon life form. Right. So they're using this thing called graphene, and the specific form is graphene oxide. These are the little things that I suspect. I don't have evidence for this. Okay. So it's just Abbey's suspicion that there may have been this graphene oxide in the shots. Now, they have doctors, private practicing doctors that were able to get a centrifuge and figure out, people that were vaccinated and see it in their blood. They were able to see through, I think it was like when they put you in that thing and they scan your brain,
like
that there's
MRI?
an MRI. There's a massive buildup of this in the back of your head here, really close to the pineal gland.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also another rabbit hole, guys. So this graphene oxide, if it was in the shots, which there is evidence that it was, it's building up in the back of your head here. And so it says graphene-based terahertz detectors. This is a major area of research, with graphene being highly suitable for terahertz detection due to its unique optoelectronic properties, such as high electron mobility. So this is the patent. It has been used for sensors using graphene nano ribbons for THC detection. And then the next part, I was looking at patents last night. That's all. I was going patent to Brad. I'm like, look at this one. So patents exist. This was something I came across, guys. Then this really lines up this rollout. If they want to do this big giant rollout for the whole world, the patents for that already exist. Patents exist for mass producing graphene of various applications, such as detonation, I guess, technique developed at Kansas State University. These patents are focused on the manufacturing process rather than the final application. So they're just mass producing and popping these things out. Okay. THC detection for the Internet of Things. Now, if you guys don't know what the Internet of Things is, it's the IoT, and you'll see the UN and the World Health Organization and the WHO and all these people, they always talk about the Internet of Things. It's so cool. The integration of this THC technology into the Internet of Things systems is being explored for applications like cancer managing and advanced security scanning. A compact low-power THC wake-up receiver chip designed by MIT engineers could extend the battery life of IoT devices. Now, I don't have it, but I have researched that these little chips that they have, they can actually run off the energy of your body, your heartbeat. So it doesn't need batteries or anything like that. Yeah. So that's some background there. Little side note there. And with that, before we get into the video, I want to show you guys. I know a lot of you guys probably have seen this post that have followed me, but I just want to point out to it again. And the patent is here. So I say, to top that off, to make things worse, I find this patent, Apple's patent for mind-reading earbuds, biosignal sensing devices using dynamic selection of electrodes.
This is why I do not use the wireless earbuds. I refuse to. I don't know if they're doing this with them, but the fact that you have a earbud with a receiver that can communicate with an outside source is, to me, a huge red flag. You will never see me with anything other than a wired earbud, ever.
Yeah. And that's the problem. If it gets to the point that you can't, like, I don't even know what we're going to do, Brad. We just have to go through the speakers.
I mean, especially for the cell phones now. I don't know. There probably had nefarious reasons behind it, but I don't know who decided, hey, let's get rid of the earphone jack on the phones. That guy should be put in jail. That is like the worst decision ever. You can't charge your phone and listen to headphones at the same time.
Exactly. And I say that, I don't know why
they probably did it for this reason, to force you to get those wireless headphones. It almost has to be. Well, what would be the point of taking that out? So one of the most useful features of your entire cell phone.
Exactly. And it's, dude, 100%. They're working, the companies, I believe, are working with the big tech to roll out this new technology. And then remember, they're like, oh, how do we get people to get on board? You know, they have to find different ways for people to consent to it, or just quite literally make a new phone and then go, oh, I guess you have to get a different earpiece now. You can't plug it in. Uh-oh. That's okay. We're advancing, right? Freaking nefarious, freaking evil. And yeah, to the point when I say, remember when all the phones changed so regular headphone jacks could not be plugged in? Why the push to force the public to accept AirPods?
I didn't know. I actually didn't see your thread on this shit. I was just riffing on that. Funny.
Oh yeah, this is I made this thread, I think, a year ago, but I had to find it because it's relevant.
Okay, yeah.
So it says brain activity can be monitored using electrodes placed on the scalp of a user. Electrodes may, in some cases, be placed inside or around the outer ear of the user. Measuring the brain activity using electrodes placed in or around the outer ear may be preferred due to the benefits, such as reduced device mobility and decreased visibility of the electrodes when compared to other devices that require electrodes to be placed on visible areas around the scalp of the user, like headbands. People didn't want to wear the headbands, even though it was cool and you had the technology. So they're like, how do we get people to get something on their head so we can read their mind? Right? And then they're like, earbuds, let's go. So I won't stick too much into this, but I break it down that what they're picking up, if you have Apple earbuds and you are using them in your phone, you had to push this agreement. And in your agreement, you agreed to this. So let me tell you what you agreed to. Biosignal measurement. These electrodes measure various biosignals, including electroencephalography. I hope I said that right. This records brain waves, which are the rhythmic electrical signals produced by the brain reflecting its activity. So therefore, they're recording your brainwaves. Electromyography is a diagnostic test that measures the electrical activity of muscles and nerves. It is used to assess the health and function of the neuromuscular system. I dove into this, and basically they'll know when you're moving. They know when you're tight. They know when you're walking, because they're monitoring your muscles. Electrocellulography is a technique used to measure the electrical potential difference between the corona, so this is our eye, front of the eye, and retina, back of the eye. It is a non-invasive procedure that can be used to assess the function of the retina and eye movements. So now they know where you're looking and all of that, which is crazy. Electrodiagram is a non-invasive medical test that records electrical activity of your heart. Galvanic skin response. Galvanic skin response, also known as electrodermal activity, is a physiological phenomenon that measures changes in the electrical conductivity of the skin in response to emotional arousal. This one blew my mind. So let's say I'm watching something and it makes me scared. They're going to actually see that in the earbud can pick up the change in my skin, knowing that I'm scared, and they're mapping these things. And then, of course, last one, blood pressure volume refers to the rhythmic changes in the volume of blood in the arteries, veins, which cause the pumping of the heart. So, blood pressure monitoring, they have that. They market that for your wrist, your watches and things. Again, I'm not anti-technology, guys. I just want you to know it's a two-way street. So you can use it for your good and you can use it for your health, but you're agreeing to your data being recorded and ultimately used against you. I feel like that could be an outcome.
Right. And with all of this, and well, we'll get into this in the wrap up, but they can use this to manipulate society. It was Google's one of their main things is using the technology that they have to elicit change, to manipulate their users to be corralled in one way or another. A very simple example of this, and you don't need any of this brain mapping tech to do this. This is just straightforward. Is during the 2016 election, they'd done an experiment where I typed in Donald Trump, and this is again in the lead up to the election, and I saved the top. I just went to images and saved the top screen probably as 20 images that pop up, right? Then I went to Hillary Clinton. I saved that top screen of images. Probably 90% of the Donald Trump images were him going, or just totally angry face, and 90% of the Hillary images were presidential, smiling, happy, comforting. So these are things that have been studied, how people react to certain things. These are innate qualities that you have to, if someone's angry, your system is reacting in a different way. You're agitated, your back is up. When someone's happy and inviting and smiling and warm, you feel at ease with them. This is mentally done like this. They do that on purpose. And so these are the sort of things that just from a regular, that probably just came from your typical run-of-the-mill psychology studies over the course of mankind, right?
Yeah.
And then now you have things that are specifically, like you're saying, following what your eye is darting to as you're scrolling your page, how you're reacting to it, gauging your reaction to it. That is why everything will be presented as this happy-go-lucky, cool way, cool new technology. That's why we have to guard against it. Like, again, now we're going to circle back. These are the vibrating tattoos. Look at the way that this is presented. It's not like, hey, they're a new technology today. They're making it like it's fun and cool.
It's hip.
Oh, don't worry. That's just my phone buzzing me. Hi, everybody. JD Dapper, Buzz60. Do you have a tattoo? Did you always want to get one? What about a vibrating tattoo? What? Yes, the good Finnish folks at Nokia have filed a patent for a vibrating tattoo. In this case, so your phone can buzz your tat to tell you somebody's calling, or there's a new text waiting, or you've got mail. It's done by magnetizing ink, and Nokia says that way it's possible to have your tat buzz in a different way for different alerts, like a phone call from mom, text from your ex, email from the boss. You get the idea. But why limit this to your cell phone? Imagine if your Blu-ray player could vibrate your tats during movies. If you had enough coverage, like this guy, you'd forget about surround sound in a second.
Oh my God.
Buzz60.
So I show this to make the point where now what you could do with that specific technology with a buzzing tattoo, if that really is all it is, it's not the worst thing in the world. But this is, again, it's shown, like we were saying earlier, that there are types of materials like the graphene oxide that can be reactive to frequency, which just opens up a whole world of possibilities, especially if you're putting them in something like a shot that someone's going to put into their arm, that you could trick them to put into their arm. And again, depending on how reactive you can get it to be, depending on what you can get it to do via frequency, more than just vibrate, or even if just vibrating is enough to start rupturing things or messing with people. So it's indicative of that, but it's also the presentation of how things, whenever there's a technology that or something they want to push, it goes out to everywhere. Like I had found a whole bunch of things that all were right around the same time. Clearly, someone decided this wanted to have a rollout. That's what they'll do. When they want to roll out, it goes to all the usual suspects. I believe it says Buzz 60. I could almost guarantee you it's probably a thing of BuzzFeed or a BuzzFeed type, but it'll go out to all of them and it'll get, yeah, man, it was fun. They'll use pop culture as a way. And they're appealing whenever they do these things to the reptilian part of your brain, your most base, your vices, your most basic likes. That's what they're doing. They're very smart. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm going to play a video here as another example of when they were trying to really soften the blow and get people with the idea of an RFID chip, which that's like a whole nother level. And that is a discussion that's been ongoing. Now, I made this video back in 2017. This is one of the first videos in the truth sphere I ever put together. It was when I was decoding on Facebook and those groups. Eventually, I did throw it on my YouTube in spring of 2018 when I started putting things on my YouTube. But this right here is like an early video I did, and it has Aaron Russo breaking down in his famous 2006 interview the idea of RFIDs and where it comes from. For people who don't know who Aaron Russo is, he did Freedom to Fascism in the late 90s, which was a deep dive into our tax system and whether or not it's even legal, and where is it basically going to congressmen and different people saying, show me on the books where it says we have to pay taxes. And no one could do it. It's a very famous series. He was Bette Midler's manager. He was a movie producer. He produced Trading Places, The Rose, and other things. And I know he was at least nominated for awards. So this is a guy who was on the inside of Hollywood, who then he started in the late 90s talking about that with the taxes and stuff like that. But then he got cancer, shocker, in I believe 2005 and 2006 towards the end. He kind of lays it out in this interview. And here's a little excerpt of it versus that's 2006, where he's saying this is coming.
Wow, 2006.
They were doing, and at that time it was almost real time. It was like 2016, 15, 16-ish with the RFID chips.
And now what's happened, the Federal Reserve System, the bankers, have pretty much taken control of our government. It doesn't matter Republican and Democrat anymore, because they're both the same. Neither one of them are talking about shutting down the Federal Reserve System or stopping the payment of taxes or any of the big issues that face Americans. Right, so I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family. When I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things, and I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. And the goals of the banking industry, not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. They're all central banks, and they're all part of the Communist Manifesto. You know, central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. We talk about America being a capitalistic country, but yet at the same time we have a central bank that plans everything for us. Right? And the graduated income tax is another plank of the Communist Manifesto, right? So right there you have two major planks of the Communist Manifesto that have been brought in because of the Federal Reserve System, okay? So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
I can't believe he just paid with his hand. Like, you just literally put your hand up and you're good to go. Like, that's crazy. Hi, my name's Charlie Warzel. I'm a senior writer with BuzzFeed News. And in order to see what the future of money looks like, I decided to live for a month just paying for things with my phone. And somewhere along the line, I ended up getting a microchip implanted inside my hand to see if I could be the first person in the world to pay for something out in the real world using just their hand.
Pay your fare using only your hand. Are you one of those people that's always losing stuff like keys and tickets? Well, Sweden has found the solution. Around 3,000 Swedish commuters have had biometric microchips implanted in their hands in order to pay for train tickets. Commuters who elect to have the RFID chip implanted under the skin are able to have their tickets loaded onto the device. The implants use near-field communication technology, similar to contactless credit cards or mobile payments. When activated by a reader device a few centimeters away, information can be transferred between them using magnetic field induction.
A woman in Australia is now a combo of Darth Vader and the Terminator, thanks to some special implants. Here's an X-ray of her hands. Those circles are microchips. They allow her to unlock doors without using a key.
So they're offering, and this is a choice, they're offering a choice to the around 700 people from all sorts of different companies that work there, the choice of being chipped, which will then give them access to various of the services without, flashing an ID card.
Yeah,
Dang, that was good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think it's very important to guard freedom of choice. This was in something that I think came out of the mRNA jab, with President Trump. Always touted freedom of choice. People were very mad because he didn't outwardly denounce this, what was happening, which I thought would have been political suicide. He did say you should have freedom of choice. I actually agree with that too. As far as totally banning stuff is going the complete opposite direction. America is freedom of choice. So with the Neuralink, we have to remain freedom of choice. With something like this, an RFID chip, you have to remain freedom of choice. And in that, that would be the way of keeping cash around. We can never get rid of physical currency. That has to stay a thing, and we have to fight for that forever. I love crypto. I love the idea of all these things. Well, not the RFID implant. I think that is totally a mark of the beast. I think Maggie Bundy said it sounds very close to revelation. Yeah,
well, we're gonna get there.
100%. Especially they're talking about buying and selling things with it. And then think about this: if you're out of line, this is what Russo was saying. They just shut you off, and they could do that to an extent. Right now, we have a chip in our debit cards, and they could freeze your bank account if they want. So technically, we're actually a lot closer for a long time now than we think. That is why cash is king. We can never get rid of physical coins and physical dollars. That is the pushback or the equalizer to all these things that keep the choice in line.
100%. When you were saying that, I had a thought. When you were saying that, social credit score. Now imagine social credit score, but if they could read your mind. Oh, they had a bad thought about Obama. We're going to lock her up for 2 months so she can't buy and sell and travel and she can't get the medication she needs. Like, this is the end of all ends, right? So that this is, and it's good for us to think about, like, we don't want to go in the future naive, right? Look, I want to, I've talked to Ash about this. Like, I wanted a robot made in my house, to do my dishes.
Yeah, I'll take the robot made.
That would be so cool if I could go in my mind and just go push play, and then music starts playing in my house. Like, that's awesome. That's so cool. But because we know that evil can use this against us, we're going to get to Bible verses in the very end, but the concept of guarding our hearts, guarding our minds, we need to be also aware of this. We need to be aware that also the devil is the father of lies. And these things, I love that video you did, Brad, because it shows how it was packaged and sold like this cool, fun
he's
thing.
like Darth Vader walking through the thing. They're appealing to your reptilian brain.
Yes, exactly. So real quick before I dive into this next video, guys, kind of like what you're saying, Brad, about freedom of thought. The title of this video is called Brain Transparency. Does that sound fun, guys?
Great.
Brain transparency. But before I move on, I had this note about the whole thing with frequency and stuff. It reminded me of Yuri Bezmenov when he was talking about the demoralization program on people's minds, right? This is all about the mind. And he goes, these people have been programmed to think and react to certain stimuli, right? That's a quote. They have been programmed to think and react to certain stimuli. We all have been programmed. We can't help it. We're programmable beings. But if we are programmed over and over and over again that this is good for humanity, this will unlock our true potential, this will transhumanism, and it's going to be great, and we could whatever. You are being programmed now to think and react to certain stimuli. So if the stimuli is like, let's make it a law. Let's do global health care, and everybody can get it, but you have to have this chip so we can get you on the system.
Yeah, we won't be able to process you unless you have your health chip.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to be a broken record. I think you guys obviously know in chat what I'm talking about, but it's just the more you think about it, you're like, oh man, it's a battle of good and evil is really what it is. So with that, I'm going to play you a clip called Brain Transparency. This was at the Davos WEF thing. It was in 2023. And this lady, Nida A. Farahani, she does a nice presentation on mind reading technology. So we're going to play that for you guys, and we'll be back to talk about it.
You've heard a lot about AI over the past few years. Here at Davos, it's been the talk of the hour. But I want to talk about it in a different way, which is the ability to decode brainwave activity. After all, what you think, what you feel, it's all just data. Data that in large patterns can be decoded using artificial intelligence. As a particular thought takes form, hundreds of thousands of neurons fire in characteristic patterns that can be decoded with EEG, or electroencephalography, and AI-powered devices. In fact, what you're seeing here is my brain activity while I'm wearing a simple device like the one on the right. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain. It used to be that there was very little we could tell from EEG activity. But already, using consumer wearable devices, these are headbands, hats that have sensors that can pick up your brainwave activity, earbuds, headphones, tiny tattoos that you can wear behind your ear. We can pick up emotional states, like are you happy or sad or angry. We can pick up and decode faces that you're seeing in your mind. Simple shapes, numbers, your PIN number to your bank account. It's not just your brain activity here that we can pick up. We can also pick up your brain activity in different places, like as your neurons fire from your brain down your arm and send signals to your hand to tell you how to type, move. All of that can be decoded through electromyography, and that's what you're seeing here is a device now in the form of a simple wearable watch that can pick up that activity. And one of the pivotal acquisitions of the field, Meta acquired this company, Control Labs, in 2019, because major tech companies are investing in helping to make these devices universally applicable as the way in which we interact with the rest of our technology. Rather than a mouse or a keyboard, you can simply swipe with your mind. Move your hand more seamlessly when you're in VR or AR. Use your brain as the way in which you interact with all of the rest of your technology, which is an exciting and promising future. Surveillance is part of our everyday lives. Surveillance for productivity is part of what has become the norm in the workplace. And maybe with good reason. 9 out of 10 employees waste time during the workday. They focus on other things. There may be good reasons why we want to be able to find better ways to monitor whether somebody is paying attention or they're doing something different. The newest way to monitor attention is through a device like this one. These are ear pods that are launching later this year. These ear pods, much like the video you watched earlier, are ear pods that can pick up brainwave activity and tell whether or not a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering. It turns out that you can not only tell whether a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering, but you can discriminate between the kinds of things that they're paying attention to. Whether they're doing something like central tasks, like programming, peripheral tasks, like writing documentation, or unrelated tasks, like surfing social media or online browsing. When you combine brainwave activity together with other forms of software and surveillance technology, the power becomes quite precise. But there's a different pathway forward, which is a responsive workplace. One where humans and robots and AI work seamlessly together in order to optimize a better and healthier workplace. In one experiment, Penn State researchers were able to show that by monitoring brainwave activity with AI in a factory setting, the robot could sense stress levels in the individual and change the speed with which they were giving tasks to the human, calibrating it so that rather than suffering from cognitive overload, it would bring it to levels of cognitive load. This idea of cognitive ergonomics is what I think is the future of the healthier workplace. In some ways and in some contexts, surveillance of the human brain can be powerful, helpful, useful, transform the workplace and make our lives better.
Is there any possibility, one of the things that's interesting, is there any possibility that this technology could work while not actually touching your skin? Right? Like right now you have to make a choice to put on a headset or a hat or something in your ears. Is it possible that the web could have it in the ceiling?
No, not for brainwave technology, but it is possible to disrupt brainwaves remotely. Mm-hmm. So if you've heard of Havana syndrome, Havana syndrome is a belief that people have suffered from. The leading theory is that it's targeted microwave activity at brains to disrupt brainwave activity. There's no proof of it yet, but there's at least a couple dozen cases where there isn't a good explanation for why the individual suffered from disruption of mental abilities. And there's certainly a lot of investment in trying to figure out whether you could target the brain remotely. It's much more difficult to figure out how you could read the brain remotely.
You talked at the end. At the beginning, you said we won't be able to read complex thoughts. It seems as though we can understand emotions. There's some way you can recreate some images inside your head. Where does this explain where we'll be in 1 year, where we'll be in 5 years, and where you would estimate would be in 10 years in the complexity of thought and emotional understanding that you can have from sophisticated brainwave readers? So, I am a futurist. I'm not a perfect predictor of the future, but I'll give you my 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. So
focusing in the world of wearable technology as opposed to implanted technology. And I do believe that within many of our lifetimes, we'll see healthy people using implanted brain technology as well. Then we can decode complex thought. That within many of our lifetimes, we'll see healthy people using implanted brain technology as well. Then we can decode complex thought. But wearable brain technology, I think in 1 year, we will be largely where we are now, but with much better form factor technology. So many companies are launching these earbuds and headphones this year that have sensors that are built in. One of the things that has limited the widespread adoption of the technology until now has been that you have to wear something like across your forehead. Most of us aren't going to do that. But when it's the same device that you're using to take calls from and also to listen to music from that also is picking up brainwave activity, it's integrated into your everyday life. Because of that, the decoding will largely be in the same place a year from now, but as healthy people in a widespread way start to have their brainwave data collected, the insights that we can gain through pattern recognition will exponentially increase and pretty quickly.
And how do you decode somebody's PIN number? You flash a series of numbers and see how their brain reacts to them?
So you have recognition memory signals that are preconscious and subconscious, and this is part of why it's been used, for example, by governments to interrogate criminals. Do you recognize this potential co-conspirator? Do you recognize, this murder weapon? Those preconscious signals, like what we call the P300 wave or the N400 wave, these are before you even consciously process information. So you could prime it with a number and then see if a person recognizes it. And you can do it without them realizing that that's what you're doing.
So will all of our passwords be cracked first by this or quantum computing? Hard to tell. All right.
I think we're moving past passwords pretty quickly. And
I saw a hand
this is
go
actually
up.
really good for passwords. Neural signatures are unique. We can use it as a biometric for passwords.
Okay. So that whole interview, guys, presentation is very chilling. That was a super cut I put together of just some of these key points. And I saw somebody say there, I guess no more smoke breaks, 100%. Now, for the cause of time, I'm just going to jump into this real quick to show you in the corner, it said Mark of the Beast much. And let me show you what that verse says. So, I probably won't be able to make it. I'll just read it here. So this is Revelations 13, and I'm reading from verse 16. And he causes, this is the beast, and he causes all the small and the great, the rich and the poor, and the free and the slaves to be given a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. And he decrees that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of man, and his number is 666. Okay, now I'm going to take you over here. So I say carbon atoms have stated properties. The standard carbon atom is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, and here, I guess this is not going to pull up, but here you guys will see that this is true. And then going to the graphene, right? I was saying they're using graphene. Here we go. I ask, is graphene carbon? And it says, yes, graphene is a form of carbon, specifically a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a two-dimensional hexagonal lattice. And so take of that what you will. And then one more thing, Brad, before I turn it over to you, is back to the patents. This patent for reading people's mind, check out what it says. Okay, remember how Nita Fairhardy was saying we're taking it all in, and we're eventually we'll be able to translate complex brain waves, right? They already have. And they now are making maps so that they can have a complex map of knowing what frequency means what. Like I told Brad, if I think of an apple and then they see that the spike in my brain looks like this and this cerebral cortex or whatever, like, okay, so that means apple. And now they know what that looks like. And now they can totally effectively read the human brain. So right here it says, the invention provides a system and a method for providing TTX-based categorization. The TTX, as far as I've been able to figure out, is your thoughts, the information coming in. Categorization services and categorize commonplace of shared information, human brain information. Currency of the contents is improved by a process called conjuring. Conjuring and concentralizing, wherein users' thoughts are rapidly infused into the map. Now, this is just a huge read. Not going to go into it, but I think you guys can get the idea that they not only can read your mind, they already now have translated mind frequency and signals. Now they know what you're thinking. And the guy asked her, can you read a mind from a distance? She's like, oh, no. I highly doubt. I highly doubt that. I think the farther away, yeah, it's harder to get that. And that's why they want to have the earbuds so that they can directly get the signals. But it's a wild west world out there, guys, as far as this brain reading technology. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, the earbuds kind of take out the need for close proximity. But the fact that it sounds like they're getting close to being able to do it anyway is crazy. But when you think about how Bluetooth works and how our brains work, you're firing electrical impulses. You have a sender and a receiver, sort of the same two things. So the fact that Bluetooth works in general, it's probably hard to get through the skull. The skull is made to keep these things in, but it shows that it's possible. So yeah, I keep the Bluetooth on my devices off at all times, unless I'm using them, and I'll put it on like right before I use it. But I don't use much Bluetooth to begin with. I certainly don't use it for earphones, as I was saying before, and it's just something to guard against. I think the main crux of this episode is to, one, be educated on what's coming out, because you have to know what's there to be able to guard against it in the first place, and then be cognizant of what they're going to use it for when the bad side is going to use it for, so you can guard against that. And then also, if there are good applications to any of these things, some of them I don't know how they can be, but some of the earlier ones we were talking about, where it's helping paralyzed people do things, sure, there can definitely be good applications to those too. So being able to determine the new tools available and how they will be used for bad versus how they will be used for good is very, very important moving forward. Now, I'm going to play a couple quick ads. Wow, it's 4:30 already. Man, time flies. Quick ads, and then this just reminded me of a Q drop that we'll look at after this. The Scales Freedom Collection is where the open ocean meets the red, white, and blue seas we call home. Inspired by salt air, tight lines, and the rhythm of the tide and waves, this collection channels the spirit of freedom through the lens of the waterman's lifestyle. From long-sleeve performance shirts built for the elements to butter-soft tees and hats adorned with bold ocean-inspired Americana prints, every piece is designed to keep you cool, protected, and connected to the water that sets us free. From weed lines to tree lines, we love our freedom. So shop now at badlandsmedia.tv/scales and enter the promo code Badlands at checkout for 20% off your next purchase.
Before skincare went synthetic, people used something simple, something real: tallow. Grass-fed and finished beef tallow is packed with vitamins A, D, E, and K. Nutrients your skin actually knows what to do with. It locks in moisture, restores elasticity, and defends against winter dryness. No water, no preservatives, and no BS. Unlike plant oils or chemical creams, tallow mimics your skin's own structure. Elbows, hands, knees, post-shave, anywhere your skin's crying for real moisture. Perfect for gifting or keeping your own skin soft when the cold hits. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off. Ancient care, modern truth. Soft disclosure.
Yeah, shout out to Soft Disclosure. Great product. We got some in here. And thank you guys for all your support for Annie and for us. It's meant a whole lot. And Texas Jules, which is a very generous super chat, says thanks for your badass, loyal support of John and Badlands. We love you both. We love all you guys, and you know what's right is right, and that's why it was a no-brainer when it happened. You just have to just look at every situation differently and say, well, what do you have to do? It's not always easy, and sometimes it sucks when people who you love are trying to pitch you against each other. So anyway,
the truth is the truth.
Yeah, but we love you guys, and we've loved the outpouring of support this weekend. It's meant a lot. Actually, didn't ever want to have to do that, and there's always so many times you get punched in the face nonstop for a year and a half for trying to take the high road. So, fortunately, came to that. But nevertheless, there are worse things in the world that can happen, and we're going over some of them. Although I guess in a weird way, I got to say some of these things, they do have some positives too. So I don't want to like push that out because like people were saying in chat, and I agree, it's a tool. The AI is a tool. The different technologies that have come out throughout history are tools. When light bulbs first came out and electricity, people were literally going around. And Abby, I think you talked about this on one of your solo streams on your channel one time, where they were going out and shocking people or shocking animals, right? And showing how dangerous they were as a pushback on Tesla. And
so Edison had some paid demonstrators because he wanted people to not do alternating current. He was like, only stick with direct current, whatever. I don't even know. Like electricity is electricity. But yeah, so they're like, look, it kills animals. Shh. So yeah, I agree 100% with that take. Because it can be used for good. But I think the whole point of this is it needs to be brought out for the public discussion. The people of the globe need to go, we like this technology, but we see how this could be used against us. I don't know. Can we make protections? Can we make laws? Can we make additions in our Constitution about your digital identity? I don't know, but I do know it needs to get put out there for us to talk and debate about.
Yeah, without a doubt. Right. Because one of the other side things, other than going around shocking animals, was that it was satanic. It was very electricity satanic. But electricity has brought us so much wonderful things and very much revolutionized human existence. So if that would have been totally destroyed, imagine if they were able to destroy the idea of electricity in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and then right now we're just literally just hanging out with gas-powered lamps and candles, right? So it's they need to be discussions, and we need to understand them as much as possible. It made me think of this drop, Q drop from 11/11/2019, 3584. Was talking about Google whistleblower when Zach Voorhees had come out talking about Project DeepMind, AI Manhattan Project, and talking about Project Deep Dream. And version 1 is the only one above board, but saying Deep Dream version 2 coming out. Do you believe in coincidences? So just a little bit of a recap. Again, DeepMind was acquired by Google for $500 million in 2014. I don't know why this is on my screen, but they will buy the London-based artificial intelligence company DeepMind. Information reports that the acquisition price was more than $500 million. That's how important this was to Google. And then basically in 2023, they merged DeepMind. So it's funny that these drops were talking about this stuff in 2019, but in 2023, Google merged DeepMind with Google Brain and made Google DeepMind. Now, Google DeepMind serves as Google's primary AI research lab focused on advancing artificial and general intelligence. It's Google DeepMind that developed the Gemini family. It was large language models that were introduced again in 2023. And right now, I think Google Gemini 2.5 is the latest one out, which handle text, images, video, audio, code simulation. You see right up in here, and see with Gemini, Google DeepMind, and they were talking about this stuff.
How old is this, John?
And Voorhees came out talking about it back in 2019. The Q drops were forwarding them, putting them into us, and then having us put them against things like the Deep Dream program. Deep Dream was released the very next year in 2015. That's an AI tool developed by Google, which again, I'm sure they were using DeepMind with it. Deep Dream, DeepMind. It uses convolutional neural networks to enhance and visualize patterns in images. And it's interesting because convolutional neural networks are CNNs. So I wonder if that had something to do with the naming of CNN. Who knows? But that's how they abbreviate to a CNN, convolutional neural networks. So it uses those and maps those to enhance and visualize patterns in images, creating dreamlike, surreal visuals by amplifying features the network detects. So these are all the things that Google is using to manipulate. And Google's always on a form of manipulation and swaying the masses. Again, we were talking about the simplest of terms leading up to the 2016 election, when a simple search of the two candidates had one angry and grating and one warm and inviting and presidential. It happens with search results. We see it all the time. And these search results, they will give you the top ones are always corralling you in a certain area. So I always tell people, and I use Google. I honestly, I think Google search engine is the best. It's unfortunate whenever you go to a political subject that it's so biased. If you're doing a mundane things, oh boy, that it is the best technology there ever is. It's very much run now by this Google DeepMind, and it's a shame because this is a tool that could be being used for good, but there are people there who use it for bad. Now, one good thing is that this is very much a symptom of, or a product of, the lawsuit done by POTUS. They've brought a lot of pages back onto YouTube. It seems like they've also had them a little bit unlocked to a degree, but then I've also heard stories of people still catching rough from it. So maybe they will be forced to kind of change their ways a little bit, but we have to very much guard against these things.
I agree 100%. It's crazy. It's just like really crazy when you think about Silicon Valley and how far they've gotten. When you're talking about the reading and making a map of the mind and stuff, there was this video that came out where it's like you put on this headset and there's this TV in front of you and you just think about something and then it formulates and the picture comes up. It's really amazing. It's really cool. And it's constantly changing, like, super cool. But I can't help it, guys. I get this. The hair stand up on the back of my neck because I'm like, this is a two-way street. I just feel it. And that one of the times.
How did we go in 40 years from light bright to just thinking massive images?
I know. It's crazy. Wow. And but real quick, unless you had something else, I wanted to turn to the Bible verse. Yeah. Okay. So we're all talking about this, right? And me and Brad, and this stuff's heavy, right? I don't know, just like a lot of people, how to navigate it, but I am a believer. And I do know that there is a battle for our mind, which is ultimately the battle for your soul, right? So I was like, okay, let's see. Is there any verses that are related to like mind control? Like I literally searched it that way. And I came up with some really good verses. So I'm going to read a few verses. And this one is 2 Corinthians 10, 3-5. And it says, all these verses I have, they focus on the renewing of the mind, taking captive your thoughts, and setting your mind on God and resisting external or sinful influences on one's thoughts and will. Okay, so and that's the craziest thing is that the Bible, even though people, oh, this is ancient manuscript, it doesn't mean anything. There's so much wisdom in it and so much guidance in how to face the world that we are in right now. So 2 Corinthians 10:3-5 says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine powers to destroy strongholds." Whoa, like that is cool. Our minds, we have power, guys. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ. I read that today. I'm like, this is fire, man.
Powerful.
That's a great one.
It's so appropriate. It's so funny that these words are so, Paul's words are so appropriate to this day.
Yeah. Right. That's the one thing that's also like, it's all connected. Like God really, like he's outside of time. He knows when we need things, like everything is in position by his divine providence and his masterful way of this whole thing, of what life is, of what just being conscious of, and all this. It's such a cool thing. You can get way out there though. Sometimes I'll be like philosophizing. I'm like, okay, pull back to reality. All right. So Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect." It's telling you, you can do this with your mind. And you don't have to conform your mind to the world. You can have a mind set on God, so God's ways, a God-thinking mind, which is going to be wonderful and pure and things like that. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." I have 3 more. Colossians 3:2, "Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth." That doesn't mean don't be involved in the world you're in. Obviously, like look at me and Brad, we're like knee deep in fighting the new world order, right? But it's saying don't be controlled by their psychological warfare. They're always trying to get at you. Every single angle. Don't do it. Don't be afraid. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and self-control. And sorry, I read the wrong one. And we're not to think of earthly things, but things, godly things, things of above. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think upon these things." It's telling you where to put your mind. And the last one is John 14:26 that says, "But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you things and bring to you remembrance of all that I have said." So it's just wild, like we have a helper with us to help guide us, to help protect our minds. And so just always understand, that we're going through these physical battles, but there's also spiritual battles and the battle for your mind, which is essentially your soul. So guard your mind and keep it pure. All right, I'm done with my spill. There was
funny?
So many more. I'm like
I love it. I love when she gets biblical, guys. I always try to pull it out of her, but it's there. It's like around the house. It's there all the time.
I'm like preaching to Brad over the bottom.
Well, it's funny. I feel like this episode was like guard your soul biblically and guard your mind technologically. Technologically. There we go. I know there's a word there. Well, we love you guys. Before we go, we do have another super chat from Josie Ann. Is saying, "Love both of your faith, integrity, and love that you have shown to everyone.
Oh, thank
That's
you
really
so
sweet.
much. Yes, we love you guys. We love everybody.
Really do.
You know, so we're trying, and thank you so much for all your support, and it means a lot.
Yes.
Badlands is like our family, man, and all of you guys are Badlands. You know, so it's just like the support means the world to us.
It really does. And with that, we have actually 2 programs coming up. One of them, not a permanent one, Jordan will be doing a breakdown of Q. He's actually doing a presentation at the pub where they showed Codex 911. So that's pretty cool. So that's coming up at 9, and then starting at 8:55, obviously, a Badlands story hour. They're going to go into Scream, I assume, for Halloween, and we're going to have a Halloween audio files this Saturday. So it should be cool. And maybe Abby might join us too. We'll see.
I would love to.
But before we go, we do want to tell you guys about our friends at Silent, where you can empower your right to disconnect with silent Faraday cage bags, perfectly in line with today's show. In a world where tech never sleeps, our mission is to keep you safe, private, and healthy. Technology shields your devices from hacking, tracking, and EMF radiation, giving you autonomy over your digital life. Disconnecting sparks creativity, strengthens relationships, and brings peace of mind. With Silent, you get effortless gear built with integrity, always staying one step ahead to protect your data and security. So you can go to visit badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday and use promo code Badlands to snag your 10% discount. That's badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday, promo code Badlands, and Faraday bags are very, very much worth it. Again, especially with this sort of technology coming out. There are some people who I've seen talk about this. I've never seen anyone do it in person. Talk about just keeping their cell phone in a Faraday bag, but then you won't get any calls, obviously. But if you're just in a place where you're public and maybe you think it's a little weird, you could just have a Faraday bag for that, or you could have Faraday bags at home. I used to have a small little generator. I don't do it anymore, where I had a big Faraday bag for, and that's just in case. Again, that was more EMP thinking when I lived in
Same
Jersey.
thing. Still protects from that. Even like, let's say the sun, if it does a EMP pulse, protects from that. Super, super cool. I've heard people do hacks where they use microwaves as Faraday cages.
Oh, fascinating.
I don't know if that's accurate, guys, but I have
think about
heard
it.
that.
If they weren't able to do that, the microwaves would be shooting out of the machine. So it probably would work. That actually makes wow. I never thought of it.
All these fun tips and tricks.
Yes.
Only on Brad Abbey Live.
Fascinating. We also have ZBM here says, I thought Trump and the White Hats are trying to take down the WEF as well. I don't know if take them down. I mean, that's right. They're kind of like they're an outside entity, but I think we could pull out of the WEF.
100%. Yeah, we can't take them down. We could just, don't fund them if there's any funds that we're sending to them for whatever. Pull that out, and then just don't partake in their New World Order wet dream, which they always go on to say. And there has been changes in the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab he's no longer the head of it. And I forget the new guy's name. He's just as bad though. He's all saying water, we got to control water now. So, but Trump clearly is not with the World Economic Forum and the UN, because he literally went to the UN and said, oh, your climate change scam. And he's like, everybody that has a brain, pull out of it now. If you want to come into the golden age with us, drop the scam, So he's clearly aware.
And he
so
did pull out of the World Health Organization, which is a subgroup of the UN, pulled back a ton of UN funding during his first term. I don't know how much of that is ridiculous. Obviously, Biden came in and was like, we're so sorry, there you go.
Well, he pulled us out of the climate Paris Accord, which is the Green
that's
Deal.
a huge one. Yep. Yeah. So things like that are happening. As far as like the WEF, again, I don't know about taking it down because it's just an outside entity. Some other countries could even see that as an act of war. But we could at very least, he's not adhering to they're doing very like controlling things, like you were saying, where Biden was signing that deal to where if there's another pandemic type thing, everyone would follow their lead, or actually the World Health Organization and stuff too.
Yep.
I think both of them. And that's not going to happen under Trump. So as far as the WEF being something to be afraid of while Trump's in office, or while a patriot like Trump is in office, we don't have to, in my opinion, anyway. But before we go here, guys, we also want to tell you about GART 10, which is right here. Abby and I, unfortunately, we won't be there, but we'll be digital. So we'll be hanging out with all the virtual passers, and virtual pass is the second best way to enjoy these conferences. Cocoa Beach, though, in person, if you guys are in the area, or if you can make your way to Cocoa Beach, we could tell you that is freaking awesome. I don't know. We got to look at the schedule if there's a rocket launch, but you could right on the beach there, right behind the hotel, you can see it's like Cape Canaveral or whatever, where they do the rocket launches. So we watched
it was
rocket
Elon.
launch. I think it was
you're right.
But they use those areas though. Yeah.
Right.
And the beach is beautiful. That whole strip there, Cocoa Beach, is cool as shit, man. They had cool stores, cool places to hang out, really cool restaurants. And then of course the conference itself, and getting to hang out with a bunch of patriots is always just freaking amazing. So we'll leave you out with this promo and into maybe our outro. And we'll see you guys later. So stay
Love you
high for
guys.
the next show.
Here on the sun-kissed shores of Cocoa Beach, where the ocean meets the horizon, the Great American Restoration Tour continues on November 6th through the 9th, 2025. Badlands Media gathers patriots like you, not just to talk, but to rebuild. From truth-telling panels to unbreakable bonds, we're restoring the soul of our nation, one conversation at a time. This is the heart of the Space Coast, where the rockets defy gravity and dreams touch the stars. Feel the thunder of innovation that powers America forward. Together, we're not just healing the past, we're blasting off into a brighter tomorrow, a future where truth prevails, families thrive, and America leads once more. Join us in Cocoa Beach. Get your seat or your virtual stream pass now at badlandsmedia.tv/events. Launch is imminent, and you don't want to miss this liftoff.